Welcome back to another exciting episode of Cyber Defense TV. I'm your host, Gary Malevsky, and the publisher of Cyber Defense Magazine. I have an incredible special guest in the hot seat today, Ellen Sundra. She's the vice president of one of my favorite cybersecurity companies, Forescout. Welcome.
Thanks, Gary.
So you should tell people, I want to, but tell them why I think you guys are so amazing.
Yeah, well, we're a device visibility company, so we give you visibility across the entire enterprise, the extended enterprise. And visibility is foundational for all of your enterprise security programs, right? It's the first step. You have to know it's getting connected to your network. And Forescout does a really nice job of doing visibility across the entire campus network, even your IoT devices, into the data center, and then into your operational technology, which is like your critical infrastructure, right? If you have manufacturing or HVACs or...
Hold on a second, Ellen. Are you telling me that if whether it's a Nest or it's some nuclear facility device that's SCADA connected, it belongs on the network or it doesn't, or it's being attacked?
Absolutely. So if it attaches to the network, it has an IP address, we can see it, any device. So we give you that visibility. We're able to classify those devices, and that's really important because just knowing that a device exists is just the first step. I need to know what that device is, what's the expected behavior. Knowing that it's a video camera versus a web camera versus a security camera is important because we have different security policies around those devices.
So when you say a security camera, so this is really something with a MAC address and it's on Wi-Fi and it belongs on the network. But if I'm sitting in the parking lot, we can go way back to the TJ Maxx breach where they spoofed the MAC address of the wireless router and said, hey, the hackers, Soup Nazi was his name, I'm getting into TJ Maxx and I'm stealing 100 million credit cards from the outside of the building by pretending I belong on the inside of the network.
So we're able to see those devices and see what they talk to. And that's an important part of your security plan, is to know what those devices are supposed to talk to. And that will allow you to include segmentation into your plan. Most organizations get a little nervous when they talk about segmenting the network because they don't really know what's on the network. So they're afraid to put any sort of restrictions on what devices are allowed to talk to what other devices, because they don't want to block a CEO, or maybe in a healthcare situation where you have medical devices.
The heart pump. We don't want to turn off the heart pump.
We don't want to turn it off.
But if someone spoofed it, you might know and say, this is a hacker trying to pretend they're the heart pump to get into the medical records and steal them from the hospital.
Right. So we do look at that behavior, right? We know that heart pump should only be talking back to maybe a centralized server. If it tries to start talking to our credit card systems, that would sound an alert, and then we could take an automated action to control it.
So I meet a lot of vendors who talk about, network visibility and traffic visibility. And the visibility word's pretty big now, and SOAR and SIEM. And it's good to know where the packets and payload are going. But I think what Forescout is teaching us is that really the hackers are aware of new entry points. It's really go after people and the devices they use as they come and go on networks. Or maybe they're statically there for so long they have an exploitable vulnerability, and I want to get in somehow. You're aware of all of this.
Absolutely. So telling you all of those devices is an important way to determine, are they friend or foe? Are they compliant? And that's an important part of the solution as well, is that I know that this Windows machine is allowed to be on the network, but does it meet my hygiene levels? Is it compliant? Is it susceptible to WannaCry or ransomware? So being able to kind of dig deeper into the device visibility and tell you more about what that endpoint is and just the compliance level of it will allow you to make a decision whether or not you want it on your network.
When Forescout does this, do you do it in partnership with companies, others who, like the Rapid7s and the Qualys and others? Are you partnering with all the top vulnerability management vendors? Do you have your own vulnerability engine? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's important because we really do. That visibility is critical to every security tool you have on your network. If it's an agent-based tool, it's only going to know about the endpoints that have agents. If it's a scanning tool, a point-in-time scanning tool, it's only going to know what's on the network during that scan. So having a tool like Forescout that's able to tell you immediately as soon as a device connects to the network is going to make those tools stronger. So a lot of the tools want to partner with Forescout. They approach us and say, hey, how can we get your data feeds into our tools? And then vice versa, when Forescout finds a device, before letting it on, we can go to a vulnerability management scanner and say, hey, when was the last time you scanned this device? Has it been 7 days? Has it been 30 days? Maybe I want you to scan it before I give it access. So the tools, that orchestration and letting tools talk to one another really makes both tools stronger.
So Ellen, you're in the hot seat, so I've got to ask some tough questions. You ready?
I'm ready.
You probably have all the answers, but here we go. Here we are, it's NHS, WannaCry, right? It's launched. A lot of vendors said, I think I could have solved it. I have a feeling you could have. It attacked an SMB1 protocol flaw in Windows. Now, I don't know why the hospital had 1,400 computers running this protocol, right? And running old Windows computers and running old Windows servers. So that's one problem. The second problem is, once it wormed its way around, it encrypted all the computers and the hospitals went offline in the UK. This affected human lives. Kids couldn't get their operation for 4 days. It was horrible. What would Forescout have done for that?
Yeah, well, so patching is not sexy, right? No. People don't want to talk about patching. It's hard. But if you look at all of these ransomware attacks, they use known vulnerabilities, which means there's a fix that exists. So why isn't it getting fixed? Why are these devices not getting fixed? And many times you have devices out there that are blind, right? They don't run an agent. Maybe there's no longer support. So without fixing those devices, they're going to be susceptible. And a lot of the tools require that agent to be on it. So it's sort of a chicken and the egg. I can't tell you if I don't have my software on it. Having agentless device visibility is important in identifying those devices that are susceptible.
So you would kind of map out the whole network and say, hey, here's the 1,400 computers we really need to worry about. And it might be in partnership with others, with other tools, but I could go into Forescout's command center or dashboard. What do you call the environment I look at? The pane of glass.
Yeah, our dashboard, we call it an enterprise manager. It gives you that view across your entire network, which is also important. Not having a separate tool for your campus and then another tool for your data center. And then, oh, I have this new IoT visibility tool. And oh, now I need my operational technology. I have all of my HVACs and all of my thermostats on a different network. Having one tool across all of those is important.
There's been HVAC exploitation. We're seeing other strange kind of IoT vulnerabilities being exploited. There was a major botnet that attacked vulnerabilities in wireless routers. So you would have the visibility. The router's on the network. The router's vulnerable. Is it important? Is it critical or not? Do we have to isolate or quarantine it? And you can alert, but you could also isolate?
Absolutely. And that's important. Everyone's talking about automation too, right? How do we get to automation? We just don't have enough humans to go in and make all those, to look at the logs and the events and then make the changes that are needed. A lot of times we see that breaches have happened almost a year prior and no one's identified it. So getting to automation and taking that next step. Visibility is important. It is the first step. But then being able to do something with that data is a critical second step. Now that I know that this device is not supposed to be on the network or that it doesn't meet my compliance levels, what do I do about it? And Forescout, because we integrate with the network fabric and all of your devices, all of your network admission points, we can take an immediate action on that endpoint to quarantine it, segment it off, or just remove it from the network.
I think I've heard that Forescout can do it even down to the hub, not just the switch. In other words, if somebody's sitting off of a hub that's connected to a switch, you have some patented engine to deal with that device in a way that will block it or isolate it for some period of time until IT figures out where it is and gets it out of the building.
Yeah, so those are called NATed devices, which is network address translation. They take an IP address and they make one IP address, they put multiple devices behind it. We do have a patent technology that allows us to see on the other side of that hub to be able to determine, that's one IP address, but there's actually 10 devices back there. And many times that's where shadow IT will fall in and blind spots for organizations and now potential threats.
Now, shadow IT is also in the cloud. Is Forescout looking in that direction? Because for years you've been kind of taking care of the most critical part behind the firewall, right? Even though it may be a campus or multiple locations. Where are you guys going?
You're exactly right. So we already started building integration, that visibility into the cloud so we can see those devices. Many times there's orphan devices that are out there that organizations have no idea about. We actually have one really large customer that we just found out about that found 20,000 orphan devices in the cloud. So being able to get that visibility and also potential threats, right, coming in from the cloud. So it's not just the campus data center OT, it does include cloud visibility as well.
20,000 orphan devices.
20,000.
So they're a big client.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you've said OT as an operational technology. Is that correct? Okay, so and we've got IT, we've got IoT. Is this a convergence? And are we talking about, as we said earlier, that we're going to see things that show up? It's really the internet of everything. And you are aware of everything. Pretty much you know based on the MAC address, you know a signature of the operating system. you can give me knowledge about what that orphan device is.
Right.
It's a switch, or it's this, or it's somebody's laptop, or it's an old media server, whatever it is.
Absolutely. So you're exactly right about the convergence. That's happening because we're seeing these big advantages of adding devices onto the network. It's one of those things where people are like, it's ridiculous. Do you really need a dishwasher or a refrigerator?
Refrigerator on the network.
But what if that refrigerator was in a hospital and it stored blood? Of
That's
course you
point.
would want to monitor it, right? Of
Right.
course. And a lot of the warranties will be tied into these connected devices. And the reason why is because it allows us to be proactive. Now we can see that a device is going down, right? Of course we want to, if you have a big manufacturing plant, don't you want to proactively manage that from anywhere in the world instead of having someone on site that's watching and then it breaks and then you have to go out and fix it? So there's big advantages to attaching these devices, but there's risk that comes with it. So having that convergence of all the IoT devices is beneficial, but we now need to take responsibility for them because many of these devices don't have security built in, right? Our conveyor belts, they don't think about security. Our IoT devices, those manufacturers, number one priority is make it easy to connect to the network. They don't really care about security.
Pretty soon our car is going to connect to the network.
But they already do.
Right? And the question is the car part of the company's asset if you're connecting to Salesforce from your car, maybe with your smartphone sitting on the dashboard, or maybe the part of the dash that does all the same things, and you're talking and it's converting your voice to text, and you're maybe driving and doing work, and it's legal because you're not looking at this.
Right.
As we extend the corporate network, a lot of people have their own personal devices. How does that matter, and what does Forescout do for that?
Right. So it's important. They don't want to carry two phones, right? They don't want to carry a laptop, an iPad, and a phone. So being able to allow your employees to connect to the network with their devices is important from productivity's perspective. But you need to be able to see those devices and manage them. So yes, maybe we're going to allow a cell phone to connect to the network, but I only want it to have access to the internet and email. Does it really need access back into my HR systems or my financial databases? No. So that visibility is important to make those policies around what those bring your own device, your BYOD devices. What can they do on the network? Yeah.
Sounds great, Ellen. You made it through the hot seat, and I really appreciate it. This was a great interview.
Thanks, I enjoyed it.
And again, folks, go to Forescout.com. Check out her company. It's an amazing company with great technology, network visibility, network control, fast, easy, and scalable. Forescout.com. And then come back for another exciting episode of Cyber Defense TV. Thank you.